Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Living on Blockchain. Today, we are speaking to Jennifer. Jennifer is a product manager at Africa's foremost crypto payment solution, Lazerpay, and also the co-founder of the NGO Growteq. So this was a very interesting conversation, especially deep diving into what Web3 has in store vis-a-vis the African continent. And I can't wait for you guys to deep dive right in.
Hi, Jennifer. Thank you so much for taking out the time to speak to me today. How are you doing?
Hi Teresa. I'm doing quite all right. It's a very calm day here in Lagos, Nigeria. So yeah, I'm cool. I'm okay. How you doing?
I'm good. Awesome. Thank you so much once again for taking out the time. For our listeners, would you like to tell us, what you're building currently? You're with Lazerpay. So would you like to talk about that a little bit and your journey so far in Web3?
Okay. So first, I work at Lazerpay Finance. It's a crypto payments company. Basically, we help businesses to receive payment via stable coins. Yeah. So my journey towards in Web3. So initially, I didn't even know that Web3 existed per se. I didn't even know where I was as at the moment because this is like my third year in tech ecosystem. So I joined tech shortly after university. I studied accounting, and so when I got into a fintech company, I was in the growth department. So I went through being a social media manager to being a growth associate to growth and brand partnerships. You know, and then I decided I wanted to use my. So I'm a very strategic person. And I noticed I am very interested in satisfying people, right? Providing solutions and whatnot. So I was like, you know what? Why don't I use this skill set into another career? So I spoke to my CEO back then, and then I said I was going to make a switch to being a product manager. I wasn't expecting that I was even going to be in the Web3 space because, like I said earlier, I didn't know that it was like a thing called Web3, right? I only wrote that, I wrote down in my iNotes that I wanted to work in one of the crypto companies, work at Google Meta. I just wrote a list of companies that I want to be at. And then I got into Lazerpay Finance, and then I didn't know how deep, Web3 was before I got into Web3, right? So it was when I got into Web3. It was when I got into Web3 that I knew that, there was something called DeFi, the NFT space, the DAOs, the dApps, whatnot, right? And I realized that, I was actually, on that decentralized finance. Yeah. It's actually been a very interesting journey because, like I said, I didn't realize how deep it was until I got in because I had to keep, it's every day there are new policies, there are new things that are being shipped out. So I had to keep reading to understand the crypto jargons that a lot of people were saying, right? Or the Web3 jargons that a lot of people were saying. You can probably be in an Ox Polygon tweet space, and then you're hearing a lot of things that sounds actually very foreign, to you. So I had to do a lot of study. I mean, still ongoing. You can never stop studying and stop reading, and keeping yourself equipped when it comes to the Web3, right? I mean, I wasn't recently they were saying there's something called the Web5 crying out loud. So you need to, keep yourself equipped. That's literally what I did. Yeah, so that's literally my journey phase into the Web3. It's quite exciting. It's actually challenging, right? I like the challenge. I like the fact that it's still a rough, when you're trying to have a diamond, right? The stage before it becomes the actual diamond, right? That is what this whole Web3 is, right? Because there are still a lot of things to do, right? To improve user experience, to make people understand how to adopt crypto without a lot of jargons or technicalities behind it, right? So the fact that I'm trying to, the role that I'm playing right here is, building products in such a way that anybody, right, can actually make use of a product built on blockchain, right, without having to think of the technicalities behind it, right? They probably use the product as they use a Web2 product, right? They don't have to think of all the underlying things that were put into making that product. It is actually very simple for them to use. So, I mean, that's actually is very interesting for me, right? It's very challenging. And yeah, it just really fuels my drive. So, or fuels my drives rather. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's pretty exciting considering you've seen the whole gamut, right? You've mentioned that you've done partnerships as well, and you kind of came to being a PM because you saw an interest there. So as a product manager, tell me, where do you see the products that are being built in the Web3 space? Where do you see them heading, and what do you think they lack right now?
So I'm going to speak from perspective of before I go really general. I'm going to actually speak in perspective of in Africa, right?
Right.
Now, products in Web3, be it what do you call it? We have the NFTs, we have the DeFi space, we have the dApps and whatnot. All of them are still built on the blockchain, right? And most people might say that things are being rooted into for adoption to happen, right? There needs to be a proper education that is being done, education in a layman term. Let me probably use where you come from, right? And probably India or whatnot, right? There are so many languages in India, right, that are being spoken, right? Imagine if you can educate people in all of those languages and not just by English, right? And you're not just explaining it in all of those languages, but you're explaining it as simple as 2 + 2 = 4, right? Imagine the number of people that are actually going to adopt, those products that are being built by people like me, right? Another thing else for Africa, right, is that trust is actually a very big issue. Most people don't joke with money, right?
Yeah.
And for somebody to actually trust you with your money, like I said earlier, you will be NFT, right? You still need to pay with crypto, be it stable coins or coins that be it Solana or whatnot, right? You still definitely have to pay with crypto, right? Whether you're paying with Ethereum or any of that, right? Now that money itself, right, it's of high value, right? And for anybody to actually trust you with their money, they need to understand what exactly they are purchasing for, or they're trying to buy, or they need to understand where their money is going to, where their money is going to be staying, right? And trust in Africa right now, or trust anywhere, can actually be fostered or enabled if our government, right, is in full support, right? It might not be in full support, but if our government is trying to make people understand that, okay, I mean, it's not like I'm not against this, right? But I'm trying to understand how, we can play a part in this too, right? That, shutting off the door, right? If probably stuff like that is actually happening, people, it ignites trust in people, right? To actually say, okay, their money is safe, because normally people trust things that have to do with fiat than currency that they cannot even see, right? Like my dad says that whenever I mention crypto to him, it's like, oh, whenever I mention crypto to my dad, it's always like, oh, my money is in the air. I cannot see the money. Anything I cannot see, I'm not doing, right? Like that's what he says. He needs to see the money, see it in physical, right?
Yeah.
So, like I said, it boils down to education. It boils down to trust, right? If your own government can, make people feel like, oh, okay, we are not shutting this totally, but we are trying to see how, we can play a part in adopting this, right? And putting regulations that would probably, control maybe bad actors or stuff like that, right? I feel like it would help us, us with the products that we're actually building, people that are actually building, right? For people to be able to adopt it, in the next coming years. I mean, there are actually countries where I was seeing something on Twitter where you can actually withdraw cash by paying crypto, via an ATM machine. I mean, that's the future, right?
Nice.
So yeah, that's exactly the future, right? There are many use cases people can actually solve, right, with the use of blockchain. I was having a conversation with a friend because I run an NGO, right? And the NGO is actually to position people into the tech ecosystem. That's teenagers, right, from 14 to 19. And then, someone was saying that it would be nice for there to be a use case in terms of blockchain, using blockchain, right, whether partial or full, where people can actually see a public ledger where money is going into, what the money is financing, that anybody can see it, right? So there are a lot of use cases, right? As it boils down to education, it also boils down to trust. It boils down to, people using this to build a lot of things, right? Build things that, people can actually relate with, honestly. Yeah.
Right. So I think, what you mentioned is very pertinent. I think it's very pertinent across the board, especially so, basically in countries in Africa, in Asia, where trust becomes like, a huge hiccup, right? When you want to already onboard users, right? So
Yeah.
what I would like to understand from you as a perspective from like a PM, you have full control of where the product is perhaps heading or the direction it's taking. How do we resolve this as like an ecosystem? The trust issue, as well as like the education issue. How do we create products that can be inherently trustworthy and
Yeah.
users would be happy to come on board, because there is a learning curve involved as well, right? So it becomes
Yeah.
very hard to onboard users on any Web3 application. So what are your take regarding how do we kind of go about resolving this as an ecosystem?
Yeah, so like there's little so much that I can actually say about this, because I'm usually like a very big advocate of transparency, right? Which is one thing, Web3 blockchain, right, is actually empowering, which is the open source part of things, right? But like aside from like that, which is more, of a developer thing, or technical writers or whatnot, right? We're talking about users themselves, right? Being open with, because they're actually insanely, if you actually dig it, right, they're actually insanely, for example, fees attached to blockchain transactions, right? And then as a user, if I probably impute, let's say 100 USDT, and probably, I was being charged, and then next thing I'm seeing is 80 something USDT. It makes me really crazy to ask myself, like, what happened to the remaining 20 something USDT, right? One is going to be transparency on pricing. Another thing is that, if it's possible in the nearest like future, right, that we can actually work towards optimizing the blockchain in such a way that the fees that it charges, right, are actually very little, that it doesn't scare people away. Because I mean, why put my money in crypto and then I get charged like a lot, when I can actually put my money in fiat and they probably like deduct like 15 naira or 100 naira, like in our currency, right, for charges and whatnot, right? So I mean, there's that alternative, right? So why do I have to go and put my money in crypto or whatnot, right, that I get charged a lot? So like I mentioned earlier, we need to be very transparent with pricing. We need to work towards optimizing the blockchain in such a way that fees are actually like really reduced, that it doesn't scare people away. Number 3 would be making products, building products in such a way that I don't need to think so much before I get what you're trying to say to me, right? Or what the value proposition is. Let me give you a very good example. So most people are actually very visual before like they actually, try an app, right? Sometimes it's because the way the marketing team, right, has probably communicated the essence of this product, right? Why you need to, use this app, why you need this in your life, right? Like it has to be very relatable, right? It has to be relatable. It has to be very easy for you to understand. And that's not even the marketing job on its own. As a product manager, I have to collaborate with all the departments. I have to collaborate with the engineers, with the product marketing, with the marketing team, with the legal team, with the compliance team, with the the design team, all the whole team, right? So basically, when I'm building a product, right, I would have to communicate with the marketing team in such a way that they understand this and they're able to communicate to the users the essence of what I'm trying to build. Right. So I might be thinking complex, but I expect you to, break down them in such, a bit, right, where it's really understandable. So it is very important that internally, where like you're building your products, right, there is a proper flow of communication, right? Because if as a product manager, I actually do not communicate the essence of why I'm actually doing this, what this feature is about, what this feature is going to do for people, right? How this feature is going to actually help our company, right? In terms of like revenue wise, right? And all of that. You wouldn't be able to communicate this product clearly to the users if I do not communicate well to you. right? So yeah, I would say these three things, right? The transparency part of things, the optimizing, working as the developers, the engineers, developers, and all of that, people that are actually building it, that are contributing towards directly the blockchain, right? They should optimize it in such a way that we don't incur so much charges on fees, and then also communicating very well internally within cross-functional development departments, right? So that they are able to communicate this product to the users the exact way you have it in mind, but in a very clear, precise, and inviting term, right? That they would want to jump in and use the product, and even down to after they jump in to use the product, right? Another thing is, one thing people say is that engineers, right, they just know how to build. Just tell an engineer that you want to build a rocket today, they're going to build the rocket for you. But what about the UX part of things? There's something I read, right, in Web3 space, right, from 0 to 1, an engineer will be able to build, but from 1 to 100 it is blocked a lot of UX issues, right? Like the UX part of it is actually very bad, and this is where product managers come in, and all of that to solve that issue, right? So how do you make the flow, the user experience really great, right? How do you optimize it, right? So yeah, you need to think of things. You don't just think of things as okay, I'm not building for myself, I'm building for somebody else, right? I'm building for somebody's need. So I have to carry out different type of research, right? I have to carry out user experience research. I have to, I have to work with data, right? Else I'm going to assume a lot, and also, I mean, like I said earlier, engineers will only know how to build, right? But at the same time, that's why you are there. You're actually there to guide them to build in the right way. Do you know it's actually very possible for a designer to design something, right, on Figma, and then the engineers build something else entirely, right? So there has to be like a proper flow of communication, right, between like all cross-functional team members if you actually want to build a great product. Yeah, that is actually going to be adopted by people.
I love the process that you enumerated. Is something that from the outside it looks very simple, right? Like as a PM, you just need to sort of create a vision. But what you mentioned about how there has to be extensive interdepartmental communication, and that kind of is basically the gist of how products kind of move forward. And I think people on the outside, they just see the end result, right? And then users or stakeholders are like, okay, you're not innovating fast enough. But there is a process, there's method to the madness, so to say, and you kind of really got that down, and that was just absolutely lovely. So I could basically resonate with it so much. So that is the part that like really stands out to me here.
Yeah.
So, you have the right idea vis-a-vis how we kind of move forward in terms of building the right kind of products. But now, moving forward from the ecosystem as a whole, when you are building for Lazerpay specifically, so then is it you keep the African geography in mind, correct? Because you guys are big there.
In Africa.
Yes. So you're building for, you keep in mind the trends there, perhaps, when you're building, right?
So, yeah.
So what is your process? Like what I was coming down to, like if you're like targeting a particular, demography, and you're looking to build for them. So what is your process? How do you figure out what is like a relevant problem? Because at times we get into our own echo chambers, right? And we might be more privileged than the rest. So then how do you get out of that echo chamber, and how do you realize that it's a real itch to scratch or a real problem for people? What is your process there?
Yeah, okay, so let me start off with the fact that it's Lazerpay basically is building a product for the world, right? It's a global product, global cross-border payments platform, right? But if you actually dip it in Africa, right, our payments system is actually very damaged, in the sense that if I've heard of stories, right, where people actually travel to like Kenya or even travel to Ghana, and it's actually very hard to get money, right, in fiat, and that's like the actual problem, where that thing lies, right? So obviously, I know we are building with Africans in mind. Something very interesting is, so, like I said, if you're trying to build with data, right? You have to build with
Right.
data in mind. And so building with data in mind, it means that you actually have to use maybe behavioral analytics to see where your current users are, probably where they are, right? Like their locations and whatnot, and see how they are interacting with the app, right, or with the platform. And it's actually very interesting, like very nice, amazing to actually say that I've seen users in Canada, I've seen users in the UK, I've seen users in India, I've seen users in Romania, I've seen users in a lot of countries, right? Like actually using Lazerpay. And I was actually very shocked, right? Because I was thinking, we're going to see more of people from Africa, right? So in as much as like, we're building products with putting the damaged system of payments in Africa in mind, right? When we are actually delivering or deploying or putting our products in production, right? We're working towards that. We're actually building in such a way that it's for everybody to use, right? We're building in such a way that it is global standard, it is global quality, right? It means that if probably somebody in Paris or in France or somewhere else, right, stumbles upon our product, right, you will never really think that it was built by a Nigerian, right? You would not think that it was built for a certain niche of people, because it was built with standard in mind, right? And in that sense, right, we've actually made provisions for, like I said, we actually only do stable coins, right? But we've made provisions for, or we are making provisions for, and we've currently made some provisions for, people that probably interact with currencies like dollar, Arabian currency, I think there's Ghana currency. There are a lot of currencies that we've actually, put in place, right? That, that are for different countries. And not only can you receive stable coins from any part of the world from your customers, we are currently working on enabling payouts, right? Which means that you can actually withdraw your crypto, but when you're withdrawing it, you can withdraw it in fiat, right? So you can pay out your money in your dollar value, whether it's a dollar account, like whether you're in the US or you're in the UK, right? You can actually withdraw your stable coins to USD, right? Or pounds, or be it whatever, right? So we've made provisions for that, right? So yeah, which is something we're currently doing. That's the payout part of things, right? We've worked on the part of receiving money, right? One of the amazing things I'm actually doing currently is to even improve, the whole process, the how you can receive money, right? That's like for customers and whatnot, right? I would have loved to see what I'm building, right? But like you can actually stay in tune, because tomorrow it's actually be deployed, right? Like we're rolling it out tomorrow in production. So let me not let the cat out of the bag yet. So like we are making it very easy and very interesting for creators, merchants, startups, businesses to be able to receive money from any part of the world, and also now currently to pay out money anywhere you are currently. You can actually, like, once like that feature is actually worked upon, right, which is what is currently in progress, you can actually receive money from any pay out your money from any part of the world, right? Yeah, so we are thinking global standard, right? Something to serve the global needs, yeah.
Wow. Okay. So what is next for Lazerpay? Like what are you guys building on, which is something that, you guys, you might want to make like a disclosure here. But what is the next feature that you guys are working on, which really excites you?
Yes. So like I said earlier, the most exciting feature, right, that we are currently working on is, and which everybody's actually, everybody, when I mean everybody, right, anywhere you go to, and because Lazerpay has quite a momentum, right? Not only on social media, but like in physical presence, and a lot of people know about it. So most people are always asking, when will I be able to withdraw my money from Lazerpay?
Right.
When will I be able to pay out money? When will I be able to transfer money out of Lazerpay, right? So that's like one of like the major features we're actually currently working on, right?
Right.
To enable, somebody in China receive their money, to enable somebody in Dubai, right, or UAE to receive their money, like to pay out their money, to transfer the money out of Lazerpay, right? Somebody in Nigeria to be able to transfer their money out of Lazerpay accounts that was to be in fiat and not in crypto, right? So because currently what we have right now is that you can pay out your money in crypto, right, but you can't pay out your money via your traditional bank or your Wise, or whichever account you decide you want to use, right? So currently we're working on that, right, to enable you remove your money out of Lazerpay to your traditional bank account. So that's what we're currently working on at the moment.
Awesome. Okay, so this has been a lot about Lazerpay and your journey as a pay. I mean, it's been very exciting. Now, moving towards the macro ecosystem, which are like the platforms apart from Lazerpay, what are the 3 other dApps or applications in the Web3 ecosystem that you feel are moving in the right direction and you love what they're doing?
Okay, I actually heard that's what you said, but I wanted to be sure that's what you said, because I'm like, I'm not going to say XYZ is looking promising, except if I'm going to talk about, Web3 products that are probably doing well. I'm not going to talk about probably a product in the same line with Lazerpay, right? Because I believe that there's no product that's going to amount to what Lazerpay is doing, right? Whether I'm biased or not, right? I don't mind if I'm being biased about that. Yeah, but for crypto products, right? So there's this company called Liberty, right? It's a DeFi product, right? And I think it's actually really amazing. I actually came upon it today. I haven't exactly tested the product, but I actually really do love the interface, right? Something else that actually really attracts users is how neat the UI is, right? And how less ambiguous like the UI is. It's not clustered, it's very clear, So Liberty is one product that I'm actually like, rooting for. Another would be, even if I don't want to say it, is, what do they call these guys again? They call them Get Flip or Flip, right?
Right.
Yeah, I think it's Get Flip or Flip. Yeah, should be that. Yeah, it's something to actually a company to actually look forward to, because I saw that they're trying to integrate with Coinbase for, I think, to be able to receive money, or one thing or the other, right? I really like their product thinking process, right? Quite interesting. They're also, the parent company is actually called Fluid Coins. Yeah, Fluid Coins, that's the actual name, right? So they've been doing a couple of integration, right? They recently did something called Flip by Fluid Coins, right? It kind of enables you to save, spend your money, send your money, right? And you can actually earn like 6% annum on stable coins, right? Yeah, and I noticed that I got like an email that they integrated with Coinbase or something. So yeah, I mean, for me, those two, especially because they're African products, right? So I'm actually looking forward to like the amazing thing that they'll actually build, right? Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So tell me a little about who are your go-to thought leaders, or people that you follow in this space, who you would recommend to our listeners as well.
Oh, okay, great. So I actually have just one person. I think he's the convener for Bankless. I don't know if you know about Bankless, right? Yeah,
Yes.
Bankless HQ. Yeah, I really
Yeah.
love him so much. Brian Sean Adams.
Okay.
Yeah, he's someone I actually really look up to. I'm like usually very excited whenever like there's you know um a new podcast or a new talk about something going on in the crypto space. right? He sounds very, very in depth, right, and very thorough, and we're usually very optimistic about like things or looking forward to things that he's willing to share his knowledge about, what's gonna happen next in the Web3 space, what's currently happening, and yeah, all of that. Yeah, he's that one person that actually look up to.
Okay. Yeah, I think, that's a very good recommendation. So considering, we are running really short on time, and, it's been such a lovely conversation. I just saw the clock, but I would like to, ask you two more things. So I want you to tell me a few, name a few women in this space who you think are doing a fabulous job, because I feel that, the gender ratio here is very skewed, like in other deep tech, niches, but in Web3 as well. So who are the women who are doing fabulous things and you would like to give them a shout out?
Okay, so first I'm actually going to give, so there's somebody here in Nigeria, right? Her name is Fermi Okafor. She works for Nestcoin, right? I think she's actually doing like an amazing stuff as a product marketer person, right? I mean, it takes like a lot of effort to, sorry about the background. It takes a lot of, it takes a lot of effort to communicate or break down like these products that people are building to users to make use of. Then also one person, obviously I know she doesn't know me and she can't even know me, but her name is I think Carly. Yeah, she's a convener for Women in Web3.
Okay.
Yeah, she's a convener for Women in Web3. They are backed by Developer DAO. Yeah, so the two of them, I would like to like give a shout out to.
All right, awesome. Okay, so this is like the last question that I ask everybody who comes on the show. What would be your advice to people who are, looking and peering in from the outside, from the Web2 space, and, what would be your 2 cents to ensure that, they start living on blockchain?
Oh, like them getting on blockchain on the
Yeah,
web, getting
in
in
the
the
Web3
Web3
space.
space.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Actually, this is actually very awesome because I got a text today, and the person, she was asking me, when did I get into Web3? How did I get into Web3? Because she just recently got a job in the Web3 space, and she doesn't really know how to figure it out. But I want to say something very important is that you are going to get overwhelmed. Like, you're not going to escape it. You must get overwhelmed. Like, you have to, you can't avoid it, right?
Yeah.
And being overwhelmed is because you are ingesting and you're getting fed a lot of information that you cannot handle, right? Or you're getting fed a lot of information that you need to take in one at a time. You cannot be everywhere. You cannot understand everything all at once. You cannot understand everything in a very short span.
Yeah.
Hence, I'm going to tell people that, I tell people that I would advise you to be kind with yourself, right? Don't beat yourself too much, right? You can be slow paced, but be fast paced about it. It means that you are not too slow and you're not too fast. You're just there, right? Be kind to yourself, learn to be a part of a community. Web3 is so community centric, and that is how products actually grow. It is a really large, the Web3 space is actually a large space of community, right? Like, it's very community based. So you need to be a part of community for you to be able to understand the things that people are discussing about and get into it, right? One thing people say is that things don't just happen like that. They happen out of manifestation, right? So when you keep saying things over and over against yourself, or when you keep listening to things over and over and over again, it gets to be a part of you. You get to understand it. When women give birth to children, right? And they're always like, mama, papa. They keep saying it to the child, and that is how the child is able to say mama and papa. It is the same thing. You need to be around people that speak or are doing the same thing that you are doing, right? So that you can get into the game, right? So that you can understand when people are conversing. Before you know, you're able to converse in the language people are always conversing. People call it jargons, but like, you already understand what people are saying. Do you understand? So be kind to yourself, be in a community, you need to actually be very consistent. That's the honest truth. You need to always show up. You need to be very consistent. Whether you are, trying to take some YouTube videos, you're trying to study, you're trying to do this, you're trying to do one thing or the other, you need to be consistent with it, right? Because if you actually fall off, it will be actually so hard to pick up. You're going to pick up, but it's going to be so hard to pick up, right? Because the Web3 space is very fast paced. Like things are always happening every single time, right?
Yeah.
So it's not going to wait for you. It
Yeah.
is not going to wait for you. So you need to you need to move with it as it's moving. Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful advice. I think, you will be overwhelmed, and that is absolutely okay. I think this is essentially what I keep telling everybody who asks me that, if you're going to get into Web3, you need to get comfortable with the idea of just being very, very uncomfortable. You need to accept it, that, you will be very uncomfortable because you don't know everything and nobody knows everything.
Yeah. Yeah,
right? There's
definitely.
too much happening at any given point of time in Web3. I don't know anything. You don't know everybody in the space is learning, and you learn every day. That's the only way you grow.
Yeah, definitely true.
That's absolutely amazing advice. Awesome. Thank you so much, Jennifer. This has been such a lovely conversation. Honestly, I really didn't realize how the time passed, and I would perhaps call you in for another episode because we never really got to the trends and your outlook on the DeFi space as a whole, or NFTs and metaverse, and I would have loved to get that. But in the interest of time, we'll wrap this up right now. But before we do, any last thoughts?
I actually do not have so much to say. I know a lot of people say that there's nothing wrong with the Web2, right, space, but what I'm actually going to say is, in as much as there's nothing wrong with infrastructure in Web2, there's something that is promising in Web3, which is the fact that you have control over things, in the sense that the control or the power, right, is actually shifted into the hands of everyone, right, and not just by one entity or one organization or whatnot, right? So that is one superpower, right, that the Web2 doesn't actually have. So if you do want to actually get into Web3, be very sure about it. Make very intentional efforts. Yeah, and it's very possible for anybody, any single person, right? Like I said, I had an accounting background, and I mean, I am as a product manager in the Web3 space. I probably wouldn't have thought about it in the past, in the last 3 years, any of that. So you can do it. Any person can get into it, right? It is not for special people, right? So anybody can get into it. Yeah.
I could not agree more. I think, you come from a background in accounting, and, I have been in the deep tech space for now 12 years, but I'm actually a literature student. So I'm completely self-taught. So I think, you should not have these hang-ups that, okay, Web3 is only for the techies. Anybody can come and make their mark here.
Yeah, true.
Awesome. Thank you so much again, Jennifer, for taking out the time to speak to us. And this is a lovely chat. And I'll probably get you on another episode very soon.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it'll be nice to talk to you anytime soon.